So you guys have heard about the horrific fires that are devastating California, and I wanted to make a comment about that because of a couple of things. One is that the U.S. President recently said that the cause is forest mismanagement, and he's partly right about that. If they really wanted to do some better management in the forest, it would mean grinding up the deadwood and leaving it as a mulch on the forest floor. That would fertilize the trees and the other plants. It would make it all healthier. It would help the soil. It would conserve water. Way better than burning or any, you know, they should never use any toxic chemicals in the forest. That should be absolutely illegal. But if they ground up the wood into wood chips, it would be incredible. That's just enhancing the natural system of the forest fertility, and it would be great. So I agree to that extent. And that applies to the private and state and federal forest land. It should all really be treated that way. It should get rock dust, not ideally, but at least ground up wood chips would be fantastic. And no, I'm quite aware that they don't have nitrogen and phosphorus and potassium in large amounts like the chemical fertilizer industry likes to say that's the only fertilizer. That's totally not true. The whole paradigm of thought of how to fertilize soil is wrong. It started with Justus von Liebig in Germany discovering that if you use synthetic chemicals, 3 of them, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, that you just don't even have to know very much about the soil or be a real farmer anymore. You can just get higher yields of inferior crops, but they're heavier and they're bigger and they're faster. And he thought he was doing a big advance for humanity, like Pasteur did with germ theory. And then before Justus von Liebig died, he said, you know, sorry about the chemical fertilizer thing, that was a mistake. And just like with Pasteur, nobody noticed at that point, but we can notice now if we start getting a little bit intelligent and realize that chemical fertilizer is the basic cause of making it seem like pesticides are necessary. Because when you unbalance the soil biology, then the plants get weak, they can't take care of themselves, they lose their natural immunity, and then the systems in nature to get rid of the inferior plants, when you have a whole crop of inferior plants, it tries to kill the whole thing, and the chemical companies can say, see, you have to poison your food or else the whole world is going to starve. Really stupid. Well, not stupid, malicious. Anyway, if they wanted to take care of the forest land, state, federal, or private, it would mean grinding up the dead wood, not burning it. And that could easily be done, and you don't need any special materials. It would be wonderful for the soil. But, you know, I should also mention that it is, there's this little issue that it is illegal for the government, the federal government, to own any land in any states except for a few small constitutionally approved uses, like, what did they say, forts and magazines and needful buildings. I mean, a tiny, tiny bit. The federal government now owns illegally, and under the BLM, is saying that it owns and manages huge amounts of the whole country. And it's almost 100% illegal. Just those little bits that I told you about are legitimate. And it's not okay to just let that go. There's so many things that the president needs to learn about, and I say he needs to learn about because he's got the will to act on it if he understands it. Most of the people in Congress are pretty far gone, and they're owned by special interests, controlled by blackmail and bribes and things like that. But the president is not. And if he learns about this kind of stuff, he could do some amazingly good things. In any case, the ownership issue is separate from what's good for the land. And the fact that the forest could be managed better without toxic chemicals, of course, grinding up the dead wood is important, but it's not the whole cause of the fires. It's probably not even the main cause of the fires. And here's the interesting part. The reason I had to come out here in cold weather, and you know it's cold if I have a jacket on. I've usually got a t-shirt. But I love being out in nature instead of in an office whenever I can. So anyway, here's the interesting part, and I'll try to keep this short. Jerry Brown, the governor of California for another couple months, said, no, it's not forest mismanagement. The cause of the hellish fires is climate change. And of course he's saying that trying to keep up the fraud of man-made climate change so that you'll give up your rights to save the earth and invite tyranny. It's pretty simple, well thought out plan, and it unfortunately is working on the sleeping population that just has been taught to be afraid of everything and believe the experts, even if they're lying criminals. So, and he's one of the big ones that's done so much damage with the forced vaccines and the sanctuary state nonsense and all this stuff. But in this case, he's actually correct to a large extent. This is like a miracle. He's telling the truth even though he doesn't mean to, because he means the fake climate change. But the real climate change, the real man-made climate change, is being intentionally engineered and caused. And you know those airplanes in the sky with the white lines behind them that often spread out and cover the whole sky with overcast, and then the weather service and the other authorities say, no, you don't understand, you're not even a scientist, and this is ice crystals. No, it's not ice crystals. It's solid particulates. We've had jet engine experts on our show to explain this to you carefully. This is called geoengineering when you want to make it sound respectable and scientific, and it's going on pretty much all over the world now. And they're dumping vast amounts of toxic metals with biological weaponry mixed into that on top of our heads. And it's like such a massive crime that you're just not supposed to be able to deal with it. So you say, no, that couldn't be happening. Conspiracy theory, that can't be right. Next idea, and let's go back to, you know, entertainment and whatever can keep our minds off it, getting drunk or drugged or whatever. But it's really late in the game to keep blowing away the time by being asleep. We really can't afford to do that anymore. Even if we could afford to before, we can't now. So the thing is, because of the toxic spraying, they've been dumping vast quantities of explosive metal dust on the forests and in our lungs and everywhere else for decades now. I know that about 5 years ago I was privileged to be able to work with Dane Wigington on Geoengineering Watch Radio. I don't think that's going anymore, but he's got a great website called geoengineeringwatch.org. You should take a look at it, because if you have any doubt about this so-called conspiracy theory that high-altitude aircraft are dumping particulate matter which contains toxic metals and dried blood cells and all kinds of garbage that's been fully identified and analyzed, it really has. Clifford Carnicom was on our show explaining the chemistry of it. If you have any doubt that that's real, take a look at geoengineeringwatch.org, and also go to globalskywatch.com, another great site. It's got links on globalskywatch.com to geoengineering groups, anti-geoengineering groups all over the planet. Really good. I've spent time on that site, on both sites. And on both of the sites, it's very clear video evidence and other evidence, collecting samples from the residue of the spraying and showing it coming out of nozzles on the wings and the body of the aircraft, not the engines. Excuse me. And you know that because they turn it on and off. A plane will be spraying, white trails coming out the back, and then it'll turn it off for a while, and then it'll suddenly turn it back on. That's not atmospheric conditions like the fraudulent climate scientists want to say. That's particulate poison, and we're breathing it. But the reason I bring it up, and I always go too long, I'm really sorry, trying to talk fast and get done. This explosive metal dust, which turns fires into, you know, just incredible hailstorms, has been being dumped on the forest for a long time. And it's also being used to create climate change. That's my main point. Okay, so the climate change includes cutting off the natural incoming Pacific storms from California most of the time. They occasionally let some through, but 5 years ago when I worked with Dane on Geoengineering Watch Radio, we were watching the storms come in off the Pacific, and as soon as they got close to the coast, these fleets of aircraft would come in and start spraying all over the place. This is on radar. It's not a conspiracy theory or anything else. It's what they did. And you could see it break up the storm clouds, and then they would form again way farther across the country to the east, a couple thousand miles, and create floods over there with the rain that was supposed to go to California. They are still doing that. That's not okay. And you guys who live in California and everywhere else, you're supposed to just sleep through this. And I think the global rulers are laughing at us and thinking, those guys are so dumb. We didn't even realize it would work this well to dumb them down. It's really a super success because they have no idea what's even right in front of their faces. And most people don't even look up at the sky and see these lines and take the time to watch them spread out. That is not ice crystals. Look at the detailed explanations from so many scientists on and observers, individuals who have taken the time to check it out, and some really expert people who have taken the time to analyze the residue. There is no question. And you can watch the result like we did on radar, blocking the incoming storms from the Pacific Ocean into California. So you've got the soil deeply dried out and the forest dried out, and then they pour powdered explosive metal dust on it. Gee, what do you think would happen? I don't think the US president, I'm trying not to name him so we don't get banned right away, but I don't think the US president understands. They're blowing up the forests. It's not just that there's too much tinder and undergrowth. They put accelerants on the trees and the brush. I'm going to try to talk about this on a show that I can't mention tomorrow. Make sure to tune in, and I can't tell you what it is. But the first name of the place that I'll be talking is short for information, and the second word, which I'm hoping the AI is too dumb to put these together, is about wars. And the specific anchor that I'm going to be talking with, his first name, which I think is an acceptable word to say, it's not hate speech. His first name is David, and his last name is like a chess piece that goes 2 squares forward and 1 square to the side. Those of you who have played chess might know what piece I'm talking about. Those of you who don't, ask somebody who plays chess. I'll be on his show tomorrow, which I don't know if this is going to be out in time for you to see it, but tune in if you can. Or watch the archive or something. That'll be on the 14th of November that I'll be on that show, and we'll try to put it on our site as well. But anyway, so Jerry Brown said, no, the cause is climate change. He was meaning to just say something ridiculous, but he didn't realize he was right. I don't think he realized it, because the geoengineering has set the stage for explosive fires. Now they're being activated. We have video footage of microwave weaponry with specific beams targeting places they wanted the fires to start, and also within these big fire environments they target houses with so much intense heat. The house just basically vaporizes, and the metal that's left is bent, the glass in the cars is melted. These are not normal fires. It's not all forest mismanagement that melts cars. Okay, that's not what's going on. And we watch the storms being diverted on radar to dry out the state in order to be able to do this and blow the whole thing up. And now it's happening. So for years, California and all the people who live there, and that in a way is my favorite state, except for the insane government and the zombie people who are following it to suicidal, destinations. But it's really the most beautiful state, and it's been intentionally deprived of water. Now it's being destroyed. Anyway, for the destroyers who are doing this on purpose, it's really paying off, because they're getting to wipe out this beautiful heritage of everybody, which is the incredible forest there. And the microwave weapons, check that out. There are people on on aircraft.org with some great posts of videos of what's happening, the unnatural heat that's being created, and how this is very helpful for Agenda 21, which wants to get people out of these beautiful areas into compact cities, high rises with residences above businesses on the street, nobody allowed to go anywhere except a few places they figure is necessary. All this is to save the earth by giving up all your rights and living in tyranny. This is not a really good idea for us to go along with. If the president, see, one of the reasons I'm talking about this, and I'll be talking about it on the station that I can't mention tomorrow, the show, is that my assessment of the current president, the reason he's hated and the power structure wants him dead, or at least taken out of office and dead if possible, is because of his attitude. It's not that he knows everything. He knows some really important stuff, like the essential qualities of nationalism, which every country in the world should have. It doesn't turn you into a terrible dictator who wants to conquer the world. That's not nationalism. That's something else. They want you to think that's what nationalism is. That's not true. Nationalism is to try to take care of your own country. Even if all the other countries are going crazy, you secure your borders and make your country as wonderful as you can. And by example, instead of dumping all this money into foreign aid, which you don't have the right to do anyway as a government, you set the example of a wonderful country where freedom is protected, and hopefully toxic corporations and illegal government operations are kept out. Medical tyranny and stuff like that is dumped out, and it's made beautiful, and then the other countries can follow suit, and then as independent entities they can all cooperate and help each other instead of following the orders of a supranational tyranny that wants you to think that nationalism is terrible. It's all over the TV now. It's pretty horrible. But remember, it's not. Nationalism is really good. It's like on an individual level, it equates to taking care of yourself. That does not mean you hate everybody. It means that you understand, you've got a little bit of wisdom, that if you take care of yourself, you have more to give. Okay? It's not, well, the rocket science thing is kind of dumb, but it's not anything really hard to understand. It's super common sense. Nationalism is essential for a country to be healthy. Individual following your real self-interest, which does not mean hurting others. That's when we make mistakes. The real self-interest is to take good care of yourself, so then you can be of more use to everybody else. If you don't take care of yourself, in the end you're not useful, and you just end up, going downhill in many ways. So, Mr. President, whom I can't name without getting banned anymore, pay attention, please. It's not just forest mismanagement, though it is that too. And this thing of spraying Roundup in forests and any kind of toxic chemicals at all should be illegal, and the people who do it should be stopped immediately. But the main cause of the California fires is geoengineering. It's not an unintended side effect of it. It's one of the main intended effects. And now we're watching it right in front of our eyes as California is intentionally burned up. I'd call that really bad forest mismanagement to blow up the forest. But that's exactly what's happening. And if the president realizes we have a chemical air raid going on over our country like most countries do now, he doesn't have to shoot down the airplanes. He can go and chase them down with Air Force jets, force them to land, and arrest the pilots. You should do that like today. All of this geoengineering thing could be over in one day. They could find out who's behind it and indict and arrest them. This is how to manage the forest. Get those planes down, arrest the pilots, find out who their bosses are and arrest them. That's how to take care of the forest. But it also takes care of agriculture, because that same geoengineering with the toxic metals and other things that are being sprayed is ruining the soil. It ruins our ability to grow organic food, which is the only kind of normal food there is. In fact, normal agriculture should be way better than what they call organic right now. There's a much higher standard that's been forgotten, and we could bring that back. We know how to do it. So taking care of the sky means taking care of the forest, and it means everybody gets to breathe clean air again. So if you stop the geoengineering to stop the fires, then you'd also let us not be poisoned when we breathe. That would be really good. So this is what I'm suggesting to the president and anybody else who's going to listen right now. So many things would be made better. And there's other programs like geoengineering that are proceeding in parallel with it. The president needs to understand the whole picture and do whatever he can to bring it all back to sanity. It's not too late. It's not impossible. It could be done. And if you want to do your part for that, you're a microcosm of the world yourself. It's very, very important how you take care of yourself. Learn the real information on health and explore consciousness. Because just like one country can set the example by being truly nationalistic and taking care of its own people and resources, to encourage other countries to do exactly the same thing. You can do that as an individual, and I suggest you start today. In case you want support in that, we started Planetary Healing Club. You can go to lostartsradio.com/club and see it, or see how to get into it, or planetaryhealingclub.com will soon be up and running as well. Make a note and come visit us. Really appreciate your being there, and it's in our hands to heal the world like Michael Jackson and others have sung about. But it's real, and we still have the chance to do it. So if you want to help me, and I'll help you, and we can do it together. So talk to you again soon.